morning. We are on. Yeah, that's a Shmuel to me. 49A1, Mem Tes Amud Aleph. Mem Tes Amud Aleph. Okay, Mem Tes Shari Kedusha. Okay, that's a Shmuel to me. So Shmuel goes like his reasoning. So we saw Machlokas yesterday about between Shmuel and Rav about what does Rav Shimon holds, right? We had the case of 3 courtyards, and we had 2 opinions about what Rav Shimon actually holds in the case of 3 courtyards. We had one opinion saying that we had Rav saying that Shmuel allows that if B shares with A and B shares with C, then B and A and B and C are able to interact fully. And we had Rav coming along when Shmuel coming along and saying that no, once B combining with A and B combining with C, they all become Aser, right? They all become Aser according to the Chachamim, right? So Va'azah Shmuel Tamei. So Shmuel goes according to his reasoning, meaning that Shmuel is consistent. Amar Shmuel, we have another case where Shmuel says Chatzar shebein shnei muvos. You have a chatzar, you have a courtyard that's located between 2 muvos. Okay, so if you look at the picture below, it's going to be much better than my picture. So you have here so until now we've been talking about chatzeros, right? 3 courtyards. A mavoi is a road in between them, right? So if you have 3 courtyards side by side, that's been our discussion. But it's the same principle. There's a principle just like you have to combine. If you want to share between different courtyards, you have to have a combined food. So too, if you want to use the mavoi, the road between a number of courtyards, then you also have to share food between them in order to make it that this alleyway, a mavoi is like an alleyway, is now going to be shared space that you could bring objects into it. So you have a courtyard in the middle, you have a courtyard on each side, but in this case, as opposed to them being adjacent, you have these alleyways in between them. Okay, so that's the scenario. You see the picture. So Eruvin shneim, if the chatzar in the middle joined with 2 separate Eruvs with each of the 2 muvos, asurim shneim, then the people in the middle cannot carry in both of them. This is exactly how Shmuel understood Rav Shimon. Right? Rav Shimon said that unless it's bilateral, unless it goes in both directions, the whole thing is going to be. Sorry, no. Okay, I'm mixing up Chum and Rav Shimon. Excuse me. The point is that according to Shmuel's understanding of Rav Shimon says that people in A and people in C could both use B, but B cannot go in both directions. Why? This was the principle of Shmuel. Shmuel's interpretation of Shimon was that you could have an Eruv, you could have your food, you could have your residence in one place, like beyond your home. You can't have it in 2 places, right? So again, let's just review this because I think I said it in a confusing fashion. So again, you have A, B, and C, and B goes ahead and puts an Eruv in A, and B goes ahead and puts an Eruv in C. Okay, they have an Eruv in both directions. So what we said is that A and C are allowed to bring things into B, but B cannot bring things into A into C. Why? Because you can't have your Eruv going in 2 directions. It's not going to work, right? If they both put it in the middle, then you could have B going into A and B going into C and back and forth. But when B goes ahead and puts food in A and puts food in C, then they could go to him because they only have an Eruv in one place. He can't go in those 2 directions. And this case, exactly that same case, where you have a chatzar in the middle, and let's say the people of the chatzeros on the sides, they go, and the people in the middle go ahead and make an Eruv towards one side and make Eruv towards the other side. They can't go. The people on the outsides are allowed to go into the mavoi, but he can't go into those mavos, into the courtyards, because he's going to be going in 2 directions, and that can't be done. Okay? Yeah.
We said yesterday that they can't happen simultaneously to go. So usually the first one that you would do, like if B goes to A first,
right,
that's going to take effect. That would be consistent with this view, right? And it takes effect somewhere, and then you can't go and do it somewhere else because you've already done it.
Yeah, I guess we say it that way. Yes. Okay.
Not that you could say, well, I went here first, but really wanted to go over there.
Well, ultimately, the Gemara says is that it invalidates both of them. In other words, ultimately, where we land is that Rav Shimon says, since you went in both directions, like, which one is it? And since we don't know, they're both done, even though you did one first.
Unless you stipulate and say this.
If you stipulate, but then what are you doing? Once you do the second one, are you one done? Like, that's me a whole new discussion. Like, do you want what?
It's like, oh, oops, chose the wrong one.
Okay, I hear. Okay, so
put
fine.
The chicken there, put the kugel over there.
Okay, okay. Ask your local Orthodox rabbi. Okay, lo Eruvin shneim. Let's say a person did not make an Eruv with either of these 2 muvos, oseres al shneim. Then they all become forbidden. Okay, so now we're just going on and discussing other cases. Let's say guy in the middle. Now, again, we have this principle that if you have shared space and one person does not combine in that shared space, then it actually ruins it for everyone. It's not like, oh, I just don't want to be involved. No. Once you don't get involved, so in the case where B goes ahead and shares this way and shares that way, B can't go in both directions, but since he combined with A and C, not he, meaning all the people in that courtyard combined with A and C, then A and C is allowed to use the alleyway because there's a relationship between them, okay? But if he does nothing, if the people in the middle courtyard, the people of B do nothing, now you have an alleyway where one of the members of the alleyway, right? Because the alleyway C is opened up on from the middle courtyard into that place. One of the members of this alleyway is not partnering, and therefore he's actually ruining it for everyone, right? And that's the halacha of here. Lo irvam shneim. If the people in the middle did not join in an erev of the chatzeros of either of the two muvos, oseres al shneim, then it all becomes aser. Okay. However, Shmuel qualifies this. Haisa be'echad regila be'echad in regila. Let's say the residents of the courtyard in the middle were accustomed to walk through one of those muvos and not the other. In other words, again, they have two pathways. They have two ways out of their courtyard, on the right and on the left. And they always go to the right. Okay, they're very religious Jews. We always go on the right. Fine, they always go on the right. They almost never go on the left. So says Shmuel, in that case, zesh regila bo aser. Then they only prohibit the people on the right. V'zesh ein regila bo mutar, and the ones on the other side, even though they're open up to it, they're not seen as partners since they never use it. Right? And therefore, the people on the left, they wouldn't prohibit. They wouldn't cause them to be forbidden in that case. Right? Again, the basic principle is that if you're a partner somewhere, then you have to join together. Right? Imagine a case, whatever. Yeah, so fine. That's the basic halach over here. Sure, there could be, without confusing us to some practical cases for nowadays, but, you have scenarios where a person is not in an erev, and they're going to be making their own erev chatzeros, and let's say you didn't find, I don't know, forget it. It's going to be too confusing. Fine, the point is,
Doesn't the one on the left
is
not forbidden? What does that mean?
What that means is that the people what that means is that in the scenario where the people in the middle courtyard are going to the right and to the left, when they leave, some days they go to the right, some days they go to the left. What that means and they didn't join this erev. What that means is that no one's allowed to carry in the middle space because it's an area, it's a shared space. But in a scenario where they always go to the right, they never go to the left, it's as if there's a wall between the chutzner and the left side. Which means that the people on the left are allowed to carry. The people on the right, they're stuck. They can carry. Yeah. Amar Rabba Bravhuna. Ervam she'ein or gilabo. Let's do the opposites. Let's say the people in B, in that courtyard in the middle, go ahead and make an eruv with the people on the left, which they don't normally go to. Hutar regila la'atzmo. Okay, the mavoi, which they're accustomed to, is forbidden on its own. In other words, so the statement above was saying what if nothing was done. If nothing was done, then the people that they're accustomed with, then they become forbidden because they're normally part of it, and today they're right, and they did make an eruv, and therefore it's usher. But let's say they went out of their way and they made an eruv with the people on the left, right? So now they've joined with the people on the left, and they're indicating, I want to go on the left, and what that allows for is actually the people on the right are actually allowed to carry there because they've effectively removed themselves from the mavoi, from the courtyard, from the alleyway on the right. Yeah, makes sense? Okay. Another statement in the name of Shmuel. Let's say the residents of the ones that he's accustomed to made a mavoi of their own. And then the people in the mavoi, the people in the middle were spacing out. The people in the middle courtyard did not do anything, okay? And now the people on the right side, which they're accustomed to, they went ahead and made their own eruv on their own. Low eruv. And the people which they did not make an eruv, the people on the left did not make an eruv, the atmal erva. And again, the middle one did not make an eruv with either mavoi. Okay, so before we go further, what would be the halakha in this case? Again, Pictures. Okay, let's see. So what happens over here is as follows. You have I love leaving these pictures up so people come to shul and have to guess what are they talking about? Okay, actually my favorite thing. Okay. It's probably something weird about me about that. Okay, whatever. Fine. Point is like this. You have courtyard A. You have a pathway. You have an alleyway in between. Courtyard B. Pathway in between, and you have courtyard 3. I always forget to doesn't work. Okay, so you have, let's call them A, B, and C. Okay, so these guys, these guys did nothing. They made no eruv in this case, right? And then you have the people, and he normally goes this way. This is like the normal, okay? They normally go on this side, right? And normally, that's really a mistake. Fine. The point is that normally the people of B go this way. This is their regular pathway. Okay? So now the people on this side made an eruv. Okay? So they made an eruv, but they didn't join them. They made an eruv which would allow them to go over here. The problem is that there are neighbors with this guy who normally goes here as well. And we said based on the last halacha, since they didn't join with them, this whole thing becomes usher. Right? With me? Right? These guys over here did not make an eruv. No eruv, right? So They did not make an Eruv, right? So what happens? Sorry, Mary. So what happens over here is we actually so these guys are messed over either way, right? They can't go this way. There's no Eruv at all. They can't go this way because they didn't make an Eruv with these people, right? But now these people who made their Eruv Chatzeros, and they should be able to go through this pathway, but they're not able to go because these guys, the B guys, are going to be going through this pathway, right? And that's ruining it for them. Are you with me? Mm-hmm. Yes? In other words, if these people didn't exist and they just made an Eruv, then it would be fine. The problem is that since they exist and they didn't join with them, now you have a partner of this mavir, of this alleyway, which is ruining things for them. So therefore, what do? What we're about to tell us is we tell these guys and B, sorry, today you can't go this way. Today we're forcing you to only exit over here. Now again, they can't carry over here because there's no Eruv, but you have to exit over here as if this is your new alleyway. We do not let you go out this alleyway. Why? Because by you going out this alleyway, you have nothing to gain. All you're doing is messing over these people. Right? Because if there's a wall over here, then B would not be in any way related to this alleyway, and then A would be able to do what they need to do. But now that B is attached to them, and B, since they normally go with them, it's actually ruining things for A. So we tell B, listen guys, you have nothing to lose. Okay, maybe you're going to walk an extra foot, whatever it is. Bottom line is, don't go out this door on Shabbos. Because by going out this door, you're indicating that you're a partner with these people, you're combined with these people, and since you don't have an Eruv, you're messing them over. Rather go out this door, and since anyways, you have nothing to gain, nothing to lose on this side, then it allows these people, we treat it as if there's a wall over here, these guys in A are now allowed to carry over here. You can't carry anyways, Mr. B, or people of B, and therefore, you go out that door. Make sense? Mm-hmm. Yes? Okay, good. Okay, so let's see it inside. Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Shmuel. Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Shmuel. Im Eruv Regila Atzmo. If the people in A went ahead, and that's the people the people in B are accustomed to walking through. Vizeshen Eruv Eruv. And the people in C did not make an Eruv at all. The Atzmalo Erva, and the people in the middle did not make an Eruv with either Mavoy. Dochenosa Eitzel Shen Regilabo. We divert the people in the middle to go towards C, whatever, towards the guys that they don't normally make an Eruv with, because then, right, and what that allows for is creates like almost like an imaginary wall between A and B, and allows A to carry. The principle is we force people to not emulate the people of Sodom. What does this mean? Because at the end of the day, from B's perspective, Shabbos begins. Whoops, no Eruv, right? This guy, could they ever carry on to the Shabbos? No, there's nothing they could do. So if they were to just do their regular thing, then they're messing these people over. If they go over here and they just go in this direction, which is more or less the same thing, they're actually helping these people. So halachically, we force people. Now, if they would go down this thing, we would say they're jerks. In halachic terminology, we'd say they're people of Sodom. They're people of Sodom. You have nothing to gain, you're just making someone else lose. That's called Sodom-like characteristics, and halachically, we force people not to be like Sodomites. And therefore we say, sorry guys, just because it's convenient to you, too bad. In doing so, you're messing these people over. You really have nothing to gain. We therefore force you to go here. Kofin al midas Sodom. We force people not to act like people of Sodom. That's the reason behind this. Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Shmuel. Hamakbid al eruvo. Let's say a person, one of the residents of the Chatzar, is particular with his Eruv. Again, someone's doing the collection. Max is in charge. He's going around for all our doors before Shabbos begins. We all show a courtyard, and one of the people, Tzvi, goes ahead and says, "I don't want anyone eating my bread. Special bread. It's my sourdough. I've been working on it. It's whatever it is. What's the starter bread? What's it called? Is that sourdough? Starter. Yeah, starter. Whatever. It's I've been working on this. My favorite dough. It's called Bob, and I don't want anyone to whatever. People get very attached to their sourdough, and I don't want anyone to eat it. It's fine. Ein eruva eruv. That is not an eruv. Mashamo, what's the name of an Eruv? Eruv Shemo. It's called an Eruv. Eruv means from the word arvos, togetherness, right? So if someone's going to be makbid and say, I don't want anyone touching my bread, I don't want to eat my bread. Now, at the end of the day, after Shabbos, or even middle of Shabbos, they could all come and get their Eruv back, right? Once Shabbos began in the Eruv, they could, practically speaking, people would come after Shabbos, let's say, and get their food back. But one person goes and says, I don't want anyone touching it, I don't want anyone eating it, then that invalidates it, he says, because the goal is for it to be together. Okay. Rav Chanina disagrees, Eruv, and it is a valid Eruv. At the end of the day, if they have shared food, even if one of them says, I don't want someone eating this food, El Shnikar Me'anshe Vardina is called a person from the city of Vardina. Vardina was a city known for its extreme stinginess. Okay, so machlok is as to whether or not it works.
It's not Sodom because they can eat their own food as opposed to not having any benefit.
It's not Sodom because he is losing out. It's because it is his bread. Right. So Sodom is only when I have nothing to lose and I'm still holding back. Okay. Amr Ibn Shmuel. a similar halacha. We'll have to see why it says both of them. Hacholik es eruv ein eruv. A person goes ahead and let's say everyone's collecting the eruvs. Okay, so Max is going around and collecting the eruvin, and you have a box and he's putting it in one box, and Andy comes along. It's Andy's turn to give his eruv, and Andy says, well, don't put it in that box. I'm going to give you a separate box, right? So he's kind of separating it from everyone else. Okay, so then he says, ein eruv. It's not a good eruv. It ruins the whole eruv. Come on. So we first says, wait a second, who's this go like? Beis Shammai. Once again, this sounds like Beis Shammai, which we saw earlier. The Tanya we saw in the Brisa, Chamish gavu es Eruvin, 5 residents who collect bread from one another to make the eruv. Unasanu b'shnei kelim, and they place the eruv into 2 utensils. Beis Shammai omrim ein ze eruv. That's not eruv. Beis Hillel omrim harei ze eruv. Beis Hillel says, no, it is a good eruv. So what are you saying this halacha according to Beis Shammai? We say no. Afilatim Beis Hillel. Even Shmuel's halacha that you just said that it's not a good eruv is not going like Beis Shammai. Even go like Beis Hillel. Why? Ad kan l'kamer Beis Hillel hasam de'ela demalyan l'mana vayat. When Beis Hillel said that if it's in 2 boxes, it's actually going to be a good eruv, it's because you had 1 box, it got to the top, you said, okay, I'm going to bring another box and put it in there. Beis Shammai says, well, too bad. 2 boxes? No, it's not together. Beis Hillel says, no, you just overflowed, so it's an overflow box. That's not a problem. Aval hacha de palge miflag lo. But over here, where Andy says, I don't want it in that box. I want it in a separate box, right? There, you are indicating, I don't want to be part of this, right? And therefore, it's once again separating it, and therefore it's not going to be an eruv, because again, eruv is together, right? Ask the Gemara, why do you need both these halachas? Why do you need the case where Tzvi is saying, I don't want you touching my bread, and the case where Andy says, put it in another box? They're ultimately saying the same thing. So Gemara says, no, tzrichi, I need them both. Diash min hasam, had I only taught the ruling where Tzvi's case, mishum dekapit. There, Tzvi says, I don't want anyone touching my bread. Aval hachay malo. But over here, Andy never said, don't touch my bread. He just put it in a different box, and therefore maybe it's okay. Diash min hacha, we only taught the Andy case. Sorry, Tzvi and Andy, hope it's okay. Mishum dipalge miflag. Because Andy is explicitly going ahead and putting it in a different box. Aval hasam malo. But in the case of Tzvi's case, where he's just saying no one touch it, but he's actually including it in the collection, then maybe that would still be seen as one togetherness. Tzricha, therefore you need both cases. Okay. As says the Gemara further, Amar le Ravi Abba 49a3, Amar le Ravi Abba le Rav Yehuda bevei matzar tevei Rav Zakai in Rav Zakai's winery. I love how the Gemara tells us this. They're like, I don't know, they're in the middle, they're in the middle of a Shabbos meal, and they're going downstairs to go get wine and pitchers, and they're like, oh, let's have a whole deep Talmudic discussion. Fantastic, love it. Okay, me Amar Shmuel. Did Shmuel say hacholik is eruv in an eruv? Did he really say that a person separates the eruv? The Andy case where they put in 2 separate utensils, not a valid eruv. Amar Shmuel. Didn't Shmuel say ba'ish menicha bo eruv eino tzarich litin esabas? A house in which eruv bread is placed. Let's say we all share let's say all of us share a courtyard, and we all put our food in Murray's house. Don't worry, I'll get to you. What's it called? In Murray's house, and we all put our food in Murray's house. And so Murray, according to Shmuel, does not need to put any bread. He does not need to put any bread. It all goes there. Okay. So la mishum da amar. So my timer. Why is that so? La mishum da amar dekaven demanach basala. Since Murray has bread somewhere else in the house, he doesn't have it in the collection basket, but he has bread somewhere else in the house. It's like he placed it in that box, right? So again, Shmuel tells us elsewhere that when all of us go ahead and collect our bread and place it in Murray's house, Murray doesn't place bread in that house. So the Gemara assumes, what's the reason? Isn't the reason because Murray has bread in his bread box somewhere else, his own bread? It's as if it's placed in that box. So achanami. So here to our case, so here too, granted they're placed in different boxes, but didn't Shmuel just tell us that the Murray case, right? It's as if they're all placed together. So shouldn't that be the same thing over here too? So granted, Andy said put in a different basket, but why is it different than the case where all of us put in Murray's house and Murray goes ahead and doesn't have to put any bread because he has bread somewhere else in the house? It's as if it's in that box. So too, 2 baskets. It's as if they're one. What's the difference? Amrlay, no, there's a big difference. Hasam pisha aim pass. He says no. First of all, in the case of Murray, even if he doesn't have any bread in his house, he ate all his bread. There's no bread there. It's Erev Pesach, whatever it is. My taima, why does it still work? Dekulu hachadairi. The reason isn't because Murray has bread in his cupboard and it's as if it's placed in other bread. It's because it's in Murray's house. And what is an Erev? An Erev is ultimately saying we all live here. So Murray doesn't have to put anything in there. It's his house. It's literally the place when the Erev goes to Murray's house. We all live in Murray's house. Sorry, Murray. So what's it called? So the point is that we're all there, and therefore that's the reason we don't have to put in. He doesn't have to put bread, not because the bread that's on his cupboard is like it's there. It's because once it's in his house, we're all living in his house. Okay, now, and this is a classic way the Gemara deals with it. It was almost like a Nas Neshma. We just went through like a billion halachos about Eruvin, and now the Gemara says, like, how's it work? What's the thought process behind it? Which, again, if you and I were writing this, we would first start saying, How does this work? What's the thought process behind it? The Gemara does this like almost at the end. After it gives us all the this is what you do. Now let me tell you why and how it works. Why it works. Okay, so we're gonna see two of this is like a little more of a lumdish discussion. The rationale behind it. Amr Shmuel, Eruv Mishum Kinyan. The way an Eruv works is because we've all made an acquisition. Meaning, all of us by giving bread to Murray, we've all acquired a place in his house. That's what it is. We've acquired a place in his house. Vim Tomar, and if you want to say Mna Ein Konen B'ma, why don't we make Eruv with money? So why don't we make a money collection? Why don't I go from house to house collecting $5, $5, and we give it to Murray? What do we do with bread? So Murray says, because money is not only always available on Erev Shabbos. Fascinating, amazing, like we live in such a crazy world, right? Back in the day, I don't know, Erev Shabbos, they finished spending all their money on their food. They didn't have like savings, they didn't have money stuck in their sock drawer, they didn't have credit cards, they had nothing. They ran out of money. So Erev Shabbos, you'd be concerned that they're not going to have money around, therefore bread, everyone has food for Shabbos, give a little bit of the bread for your Erev. Okay, so the Gemara says at the end of the day, okay, fine. So sometimes money isn't around, but why doesn't money work at all? We know that money doesn't work. You have to use bread. The Gemara says because if you use money, people are going to think it has to be done with money. And sometimes there won't be any money around, and people will not know about making an Erev with bread. And then people are going to fall. Then the Erev is going to fall into disuse entirely. So we need to use it so we don't do money because sometimes, right? Because it's going to get confusing, and sometimes there won't be money. They won't realize bread is available, and people are going to forget about Eruvin in general. Therefore, we say bread. Bread is always available at Erev Shabbos. Use bread. Rabba gives a different opinion. Erev Mishum Dira. The reason is not because we're acquiring anything. It's that once we put our food in Murray's house, then we all live there. By putting something there, Murray's opening his doors for us, and he's letting us live there. It's not that we've acquired a place in his house. We don't have a share in Murray's house, but rather by placing our food there, we all live there. Ask the Gemara, what's the difference between all these different cases? Kli. One difference is if you make an Eruv with a utensil. And what that means is that, according to the first opinion, it says it's because of a kinyan. What's a utensil? Meaning, if we go ahead and there's something called a kinyan, right? So for those of you who sell your Pesach, for, when you ask me to be your agent, sell chametz, so you could just use a document. Ideally, the post can say you should make a kinyan. It's called a kinyan sudar. And what I do is I give you a pen, I give you my phone, that's usually I have in my pocket, and you pick it up, and then do that action, then it makes me, then it affects what we call a kinyan, it affects an acquisition, and therefore you've really charged me with this thing. You could also transfer object list. If you want to sell me your Gemara, then I could give you, whatever, this pen, you pick it up, and I've acquired your Gemara. So too, if it's about making a kinyan, then what we could do is I could give you a utensil, and in doing so, then you pick that up, and you've acquired a place in, if it's about, okay, according to Shmuel, you would acquire a place in one's house. Alternatively, if there is less than a pruta, so if it's, let's say we all give bread that is just worth less than a shava pruta. If it's about living in Murray's house, who cares? Bread is bread is bread. We all live in Murray's house. But if it's about acquiring a place in Murray's house, you can acquire something with less than a shava pruta, and therefore don't want to work. And lastly, vikatan, a minor, right? If it's about making acquisition, a minors can't make acquisitions. So, in the past, some of the examples I've used was a kid is going around collecting the Erev thing. It's Erev Shabbos. Send the 12-year-olds around. Guess what? It's not a good idea. Because if it's about acquisitions, the 12-year-old picking up the bread, he can't make an acquisition. But if it's just that when the food is in Murray's house, now we all live in Murray's house, then it's good. Then we're living there. It's not about acquisition. We're just living there. Have a great day. Good Chodesh. Take care.